we're facing racial and gender problems, and it seems to be pretty prevalent today. How can we handle those better?
At this time, we're going through tremendous changes. We've got to expect some real challenges for leadership. When frustrated people come in contact with additional change, there's a natural tendency for them to think of other people to blame. So at a time we're trying to do diversity programs and gender sensitivity, we're also finding an increasing tension between the races and groups. I see business as one of the few areas, if we have leaders who can go beyond their biases to be able to work effectively with people, can be a real change agent here. But the real difficulty is we all have biases. I love here in Los Angeles, they have the Samuel Weisenthal Center for Tolerance. There are two doors when you try and get in. One door, it says, if you have no bias, enter here. The other door says, if you have bias, enter here. I was fortunate. I saw other people entering when I came. I didn't have to make that choice. But I would imagine if you were an individual and you came up and there was no one around showing you the way, it's a difficult choice. If you try and go through the door that says you have no bias, it says, sorry, must use other door. The key thing is we all have biases. You see, when I first meet you, I look at what you look like, your age, gender, race. All of that is information I plug into my computer on the basis of past track records I've had. I did a program for top-level executives, and I had this man, when I asked for input, he said, I don't expect to learn anything from you. You're too young to know anything. And what's more, I've studied with the best. And this is an entire waste of a weekend. I looked him in the eyes and I said, I'm as old as I can be for my age. But I also want you to know this isn't my weekend, it's yours. I'm here to be a facilitator. In fact, I need your input. And with the amount of background you have, I hope you listen long enough to what we're saying so we can share some of that. And I looked him in the eyes and then I turned to the next person and began hyperventilating. I had to work with this turkey. He viewed me principally from an age component. What did I feel like doing? Distancing. What we typically do with people that are different is we distance. Could be gender. We know that women are not meant for executive positions. Years of research by men have proven this. Black, white. I mean, one of the things that I find, blind people do not show the same level of discrimination on race sensitivity. They don't know it's an enemy. Our job is to realize something. Our natural tendency is to stay in our comfort zone. And when you're in your comfort zone, you project onto other people and you selectively scan. They found with teachers, the first month of school, they are looking for their problem students. After 1 month, as soon as a teacher directive is given, the first 4 students looked at are the most difficult students. You heard me, Johnny, 4. You heard me, Bill. I had your brother, I know exactly what you're like. After 1 month, our basic goal is to realize managers and individuals do the same thing. How do we break that mold? Number 1, you go back to getting out of your comfort zone. I don't like that man. I'm going to have to get to know him better. Anytime I go to a group, age, sex, race, background, it doesn't make any difference. I sit out of my comfort zone. Because when I'm interacting with that person, I get to find the common ground, find the areas that I can relate. And all of a sudden, the differences start to roll away. People you work well with, you don't see the color of their skin, age, sex, or race.
Yeah, but maybe it's just too easy to say old Abe Lincoln can say, I got to get to know that person better. Hey, that's the president. What, and that teacher that's saying, I know you, Johnny. You're going to be a problem just like your brother was. What does Johnny do? Because Johnny's not in a position of power. How do they handle that? How do you turn that difficult relationship around? How do you turn a difficult relationship around like that?
Let's face it, when you're trying to influence somebody, the only person you even remotely control is yourself, and even that's in question on Mondays. Once you understand that that's the case, all you have is your ability to position, do certain things in that relationship, and persist in that process. All of them are important. Number 1, I am going to build that proximity. I am going to get closer to you. I'm going to be harder to hate. Second thing that I'm going to do is I'm not going to anticipate that the early attempts that I do this, you're going to be receiving it well. Ken Blanchard has found his research that for a manager to be perceived as supportive, it needs to be a 4-to-1 positive to negative contact ratio. That's when you have authority. If you don't have authority, 8-to-1, 9-to-1, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, the less authority you have, the more you're in sales. You build a context that invites somebody to say, that person is nicer than I originally thought. He's hard to hate. I persist over time. The second thing that I do is I know that that trust will only develop when I have built a history of doing 2 things. I care enough to build those positive contacts, but I also care enough to be honest when I need to confront you. We can't play games with people. I think we've got to care enough to confront, but increase that frequency of positive, because relationships are like deposit systems. Go to a bank, say, gee, I'd like to try something for a year. Would you mind if I just made withdrawals? They're not going to give you anything. We've got to build the new deposits and trust the process.